certain allegations have come up in the press, especially in Britain, about your role and especially the kind of money you make from different institutions. I know you have said that all remuneration or virtually all remuneration that you receive goes straight to TERI, to the institution that you run, and not to you. But the allegations that have come about you owning property around the world, your remuneration, what is the truth?
Well,
if any,
if you are referring to this article in the Telegraph,
yes,
they have been very kind in not fabricating lies about my owning property anywhere in the world. But what they have talked about is my making millions of dollars. Let me say categorically, every single piece of advice that I give anybody, every single talk that I deliver for which I get honorarium, it comes by check to my institute. I have not taken a single cent, I have not taken a single paisa from any of these activities. I have believed, and my colleagues over here know this very well, I am a full-time employee of TERI. Every minute of my time belongs to the institute. So if I earn anything by way of whatever advice or service I provide anybody else, belongs to the institute. So much so, I've been appointed as a professor and director of the Yale Climate and Energy Institute. I did not sign my appointment till they made sure that the contract for which they had to take a roundabout way of deviating from normal university practice gave that money to my institute. So I'm totally clear. I'm going to certainly take action on this issue. These wretched characters who are out to do damage to the science of climate change, who see the IPCC as a threat, and me as chairman of the IPCC as a bigger threat, are indulging in this scurrilous yellow journalism. One single wretched newspaper, the Telegraph, who everybody knows is up to these dirty tricks all the time.
Are you going to sue?
I'm going to take legal advice and I will do the best I can, but I assure you they are not going to get away with it.
Okay.
I can tell you that.
Then as we come to the end of this interview, moving on to more positive things, I want to ask you, where do we go next from here? Mexico is next, but where does the climate change debate go next from here, Dr. Pachauri? You know, this will be the definitive thing in the next decade. What do we look out for? What does the world look out for in Mexico?
I think, as I said earlier, we need two tracks of action. Firstly, we need massive grassroots activity. And I would recommend that every member of civil society, every corporate organization who has a conscience, which has a conscience, and other stakeholders in society must now start taking action on the basis of the knowledge that we have on climate change. Secondly, I would like to see half a dozen leaders, perhaps those very leaders who have signed this agreement, take the initiative of rallying everybody around them, carrying them forward, seeing that we have emissions reduction targets by 2020, seeing that we set up all the mechanisms by which the most vulnerable nations in the world are helped and are not allowed to suffer the consequences of climate change. And at the international level, if we had this kind of a momentum and this kind of initiative, hopefully by Mexico we can get a strong binding agreement.
Can we get a legally binding agreement?
It has to be, because in the absence of that, you're only talking about wishful thinking.
My final question then, sir. India's role. Some people say that India's, as we discussed, some people say India's growth will be irretrievably damaged. You have just discounted that. India's role going forward, the world will be looking at India as it does on China on its role in fighting climate change. What is that one key step going towards Mexico that India must take?
Well, India should really finalize its national action plan on climate change, and we should lay down our own targets. We don't have to commit every one of our actions to international, as part of international commitments, but we should make it known that India is serious about pursuing sustainable development. India is determined to bring about change in the right direction. Because that's good for us and that's good for the world, but most importantly, it is good for us.
Do you see that commitment from the government?
I think so. I think so. I think with the leadership of Dr. Manmohan Singh, who realizes these things acutely, we have the best opportunity historically to move in that direction.
Dr. Pachauri, thanks very much indeed for being on my show. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.